I thought I'd have a little fireside chat about the Grateful Dead, a band that I usually don't talk that much about, but lately have been listening to quite a bit, more than I ever have before. Yeah, a little fireside chat. I'm down here on the floor with my cat. He's sleeping right now. Maybe he'll make an appearance later. Um, so, my introduction to the Grateful Dead was Touch of Grey. The music video came out, I think, in 1987. I was 14, I think, and I liked it. I was a very curious person, a young teen at that time, and I was getting turned on a bunch of stuff, and I went out and I bought In the Dark, and I remember liking it quite a bit. I liked that song. I liked Hell in a Bucket. Those are the two I really remember. Trying to remember other songs on it. I haven't looked it up in preparation for this chat or anything. But yeah, I like that album, and I remember I went and bought a used cassette of What a Long Strange Trip It's Been, and my interest in the Dead kind of stopped right there. I couldn't get into it at all. If people remember the tapes, sometimes they were packaged pretty nicely. A lot of times they were just a black, like, this is Warner Brothers, right? It was a black stock card. Had the name of the band and the album on the spine and on the cover, and then you had a little tiny box that had the album cover on it. It's very similar to how, like, if you pull up streaming now, how they do it. Little box for the cover, name of the band below it, and the name of the record. So there wasn't. Oh, I'm wearing my Fillmore shirt too, so I can their old stomping grounds in San Francisco. But yeah, so there wasn't much to go on. There wasn't much to read. The internet didn't exist. I'm not out there like getting information about the Dead or reading anything that's gonna help me guide through this double. I think it's a double disc worth of material. I mean, it's one long cassette, but I think it was a double record. So it just kind of ended right there. My next exposure to the Dead was I'm a freshman in college, and I transferred to the University of Minnesota, but I started out at a Wisconsin school, and I was like, just did not fit in there. I was super into music, and I was looking for anybody who was into that, who was into culture. I wanted the college experience, at least the one that was in my mind. I kind of got it later, but so I was looking for anybody on my floor or around me that was into music, and I found a guy at the end of the hall, super into music. We were chatting, and he's like, "Yeah, you want to see my tapes?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he pulls, so I'm excited. I'm meeting him, a real music fan, right? He pulls out this giant sliding, I guess, drawer full of tapes from under his bed, and they're all the Grateful Dead. Every single one is Grateful Dead. They're all these live shows. That was the first I had really heard of people collecting live shows and getting into it that way. But I think I just had so little interest. I was listening to him go on and on about the Dead. I think that's the only band he ever talked about. Playing them a little bit, but I just couldn't get into it. I humored him a little bit. It was fun to talk about music with someone, but it just was not my thing at all. And over the years, or especially I guess immediately after that, the Dead were touring, and I remember people just going on and on. Usually the annoying people, the people I didn't want to be around, about how great the Dead were, and about Jerry Garcia, Jerry this, Jerry that, and I just was pretty annoyed by the whole thing. Dancing in circles, the parking lot thing. I went out with a couple of girls that were into that, and I just couldn't stand it. And obviously, the relationships didn't last very long. So yeah, I just had this thing against the Dead. Another exposure I had was when Jane's Addiction covered Ripple. I think that was when I realized what a good song that was, and so that got me a little bit more interested. There was a compilation album called Dedicated. I remember I listening to it, though I couldn't tell you who's on it now. And then it wasn't really until much later when I started to hear about American Beauty and Working Man's Dead being really good albums, more acoustic. And I listened to them, and I liked them. They didn't annoy me with the jamming and the endless guitar noodling that I associate with the band. But I wasn't like, won over by them or anything. And still get kind of annoyed, we're still getting kind of annoyed when people go on and on about the Dead. Because I just couldn't get it. I don't like jam bands. I can't stand them. I can't stand, like, Dave Matthews Band. Can't stand Fish. Just not my thing at all. But when they were going on about these albums. I listened to them. I kind of started to like them. Didn't buy them. Didn't spend too much time with them, but at least I kind of respected them. Something happened last week where I listened to American Beauty and Working Man's Dead pretty much nonstop. And I even went and I realized I kind of like Jerry. I realized maybe I don't like Bob Weir as much. It's more Jerry. It seems so weird coming out of my mouth because I just could give a flying what about them for so long. But I tracked down his first album, the self-titled one. Listened to that, was kind of really liked it. And then even something I think it was called shoot, I'm forgetting cats. Something about cats. I want to say Cats in the Cradle, Cats in the Well, something like that. By Jerry Garcia later on. I think it was from 1978, and I really liked that a lot. And I was listening to these in the morning. I work by myself, and things have been kind of slow lately, so it was nice to kind of have coffee and listen to something that's like upbeat. And I mean upbeat relative, but I mean like the lyrics are hopeful, and there's just something about it that I kind of fell into a spell over it, and I was like, holy shit, I'm getting into the Dead. This is crazy. So yeah, this week I listened to American Beauty again. I think I listened to those two solo albums, or at least a couple songs off of them again. Last week I listened to Europe 72, the original one, not all these like little spin-offs. And I didn't like it that much. I mean, I liked a few songs. I should try it again. But again, so much of the jammy stuff doesn't do much for me. But I realized there were some real highlights in there too. But I guess my question, because I'm going to keep pursuing it. I want to keep discovering this band. I don't have any of this stuff on vinyl, so I've got to at least get a few. My question is, they're known for their live shows. Everybody talks about how they weren't that great on record, how it was really the live shows that are all documented and tons of live or official and unofficial releases. Where does someone go that likes those two acoustic records but doesn't like the jamming so much? Real question, because I do think I'm going to keep kind of getting into them. But yeah, that's my story with the Grateful Dead. And yeah, I never really thought I'd be talking about Jerry Garcia and listening to Jerry Garcia and identifying Jerry as the part of the Dead that I like. But life's full of surprises. Thanks, everyone.